So let me challenge you to do this. If you get your Bible with you, turn to the book of maps. If you've got a Bible that's got that, that is, the last book or the book in the middle, whatever is the book that's got the maps, and turn to the very last map that's in among the set of maps in your Bible, and it probably looks a lot like this, right? This is Paul's missionary journeys. This one's got 3 missionary journeys plus his trip to Rome. You may have maps in your Bible that break out the first and second missionary journey on a separate map from the third missionary journey and the trip to Rome. But it's likely that the last map in your Bible looks a whole lot like this, right? Maybe almost exactly like this. And I want to tell you that that's very deceiving. That it doesn't tell you the whole truth. It tells you a truth. This map is true for what it does, but it's far from the whole truth. This map is basically the story of Paul and his ministry as chronicled by Luke in the book of Acts. And when you look at it, it's likely that mentally you're putting Peter and John in Judea and Samaria. You're putting Peter on a trip up to Antioch. You're thinking, okay, Peter went along the north coast of Asia Minor there, Bithynia and Pontus. I know that Peter went there, that Peter visited Corinth, and then Peter went to Rome, that John was later in Ephesus, that James the Just stayed in Jerusalem. And so you're looking at this map and you're filling in those things. And it's still deception because it's still only a piece of the story. This map tells you that the story of the church in the first century is the expansion of the church westward across the Roman Empire, resulting in the shift of the center of the church from Jerusalem to Rome. And that's a Roman Catholic story. Straight up. And it's terribly incomplete. So I want you to think of the book of maps in your Bible, the last one, like the next one. This is what I think your book of maps ought to end with in your Bible. Because this is the expansion of the church in the first century. Because this is the real story of the apostles spreading the gospel. So the darker blue is Galatia, Asia, the Roman province of Asia, Macedonia, Achaia, and Rome. This is Paul, who may also have gone to Spain. So I didn't put a round circle out there, but there is some real possibility that Paul went to Spain. This is John, who later in life spent a lot of time at Ephesus. This is Peter, who may have made a side trip to Babylon. He says in 1 Peter that he's riding from Babylon. A lot of people have since said, no, he means Rome, but I think he probably means Babylon, that he went east before he went west. He's got time and space to have done that. This is Philip the Evangelist, who is one of the 7, not one of the 12, who ended up at Hierapolis. So the blue, the dark blue that runs north and west from Jerusalem is the story that you think of when you look at the last map in your Bible. And it's those people that are involved in it. The black one is Judea, Samaria, and Galilee. That's James the Greater, who's the first martyr from the 12, the brother of John. That's Peter and John for a while. That's James the Just, who seems to have remained entirely in Jerusalem until he was martyred there. That's almost certainly Matthias is in that group, and James the Less, James the son of Alphaeus, is probably in that group. He may have visited Egypt for a while, but seems to be associated with the church at Jerusalem, in Samaria, in Galilee, the church in Judea. So we begin to see that the apostles have kind of divided the world up here in different ways. Because Bartholomew, that's the orange ones. Bartholomew went through Edessa, which is red, the darker red there, and then through Armenia, and then worked his way across the Parthian Empire and into north-central India. That's Bartholomew, the orange. The purple, of course, is Thomas. Thomas went to southern India. He may have traveled across much of the Parthian Empire to get there, or he may have traveled along the coast of Arabia and gotten there by sea. But Thomas is the purple. The lighter blue there, Egypt and then Ethiopia, that's Matthew. The yellow, that's Carthage, that's Philip the Apostle. The green across Cyrene and the Roman province of Africa and Mauritania and then up to Britain, that's Simon the Zealot. The red around the Black Sea, the northern coast of the Black Sea was called Scythia. That's Andrew, who went around the Black Sea and coming back founded the church at Byzantium, there at the exit from the Black Sea where it connects to the Mediterranean, and then went into western Greece and was martyred there. So I'm going to point out to you that the evidence is pretty strong that this is where the apostles went, and this is the church in the apostolic era. And you probably don't have a map that looks like this in your Bible, but you should. Shirley? I would like to make a better map. My graphics is pretty poor. So this isn't a particularly compelling or strong representation here, but I will try to make some copies or something, but I'll see if I can come up with something that's a little bit better. But I want you to know that the last map in your Bible is deceiving you. It's telling you a story that's not true about the work of the apostles, about where they went, about what they did, and about the expansion of the church in the first century. And part of the reason it's doing that is because the traditional Western sense that the story of the church is the story of the movement from Jerusalem to Rome, and the things that happened in the Roman Empire, the things that happened from Rome, and the founding of the church, the idea of the center of the church in Rome. And that's basically a Roman Catholic story. But as Protestants in the West, we cling to that story. We tell the story that way. We ignore the rest of the church. The church in Africa, the church in the East are a major, major part of the story of the church, and we forget. So I wanted to really point this out to you, how much this is important. Yeah, your map is labeled Paul's missionary journeys, right? And Paul's trip to Rome. And that's true, and it represents that accurately. But in your mind, when that's the last map, you tend to think that that's the story, Paul. The story here is Paul. Jesus came, then you've got all this stuff that happened in Judea and Samaria, and then Paul. And Paul takes the gospel to Rome. And Peter shows up there eventually. So this map tells you something that is more close to the truth about what the apostles did. Anyway. Why there were 12. And it's why there were 12. And so, you've got three of them, Matthew, Philip, and Simon the Zealot, and also John Mark, went to Africa. Bartholomew, Thaddeus, he's the maroon there at Edessa, and Thomas went east. Andrew went north. So they moved out in a variety of directions. We tend to focus on one direction. So, because we tend to think in a Western way about a Western church, about the Western movement of the church, but it's not the whole story. And I want to challenge you to think about the church in a global sense, to every tongue and tribe and nation. And so when you think about the church in the first century, you should be thinking about this church, this map, this spread of the gospel.